Hi everyone, we are at Apsara Conference 2021. We will show you various interesting innovations at our Apsara Horizon program. Hi，我是李昂娜，可以跟我介绍一下你和你们的公司吗？
我叫汪斌，我是杭州象星科技有限公司的大客户经理，然后今天来负责给大家介绍一下我们公司的产品。我们公司主要是做 XR 业务的，XR 业务就是 AR、VR、MR 的统称。那我们公司的愿景就是主要是刻画人的音容笑貌。今天呢，待会会给大家讲一下具体的产品。公司的创始人周坤博士，他是计算机图形学会和国际电气电子工程师协会的双料会士，也是国家自然科学基金会2次的二等奖2次获得者。然后，今天待会就给大家主要介绍一下我们的公司的一些具体的产品。
对，我是看到你们这儿有很多的展品，就带着我现在去看一下好吗？
好的，请大家跟着我的脚步来。大家好，那现在先看我们公司的第一款产品，叫虚拟数字人，也叫 AR 数字人。那现在它有2种应用，我一个个分别介绍。那这一款呢，就是我们的互动助手，它可以实现什么功能呢？它就像我们的真人一样，它可以实现我们的一些咨询、导览、讲解各种服务。那因为今天现场环境比较嘈杂，那个语音传唤功能呢不太好使用。那我们现在可以用文字驱动，因为这款产品既可以用语音，也可以用文字来驱动。比方说，我点一下，那它就可以告诉我们应该怎么做。那基本上起到了很多客服啊或者导览或者咨询的一些功能服务。然后我们的应用场景呢，这是医疗，可以在展览馆啊、酒店啊、餐厅等各种场景在应用。那其实它的应用场景还是比较广泛的，包括金融场景，它可以实现这么多。
它不光限于人，我刚刚看到还有一个牛的形象，那牛也是用人的声音吗？
是这样的，我们的形象有2.5D、3D、卡通人、卡通的动物或者人深度机器学习人。然后声音的话，我们可以定制，有男生、女生，有各种的音色，可以根据客户的要求，你想定制成什么音色都是可以的。
听起来非常有趣。
好的，那我们现在看我们的第2款产品。这是我们一款新的虚拟主播产品，它可以起到什么？跟真人主播最大的区别是什么呢？它可以24小时在线直播，可以和观众进行互动，而且所有的形象可以自定义，然后可以根据客户的回复，你看一些直播弹幕回复以后进行一些自动的问答。那比我们一般的就是日常的做一些主播来说的话，它可以省时省力，可以不停的变换形象，可以减少主播的一些流失，方便于客户去管理，然后提升一些转化率。现在我给大家介绍一下我们下一款产品，就是虚拟形象。那它的主要的功能是什么？用户只要上传一张照片，就可以生成跟它形象非常接近的一个虚拟形象。这个虚拟形象可以跟我们真人的动作、表情、动作还有声音，各种的肢体的语言完全的同步起来。那主要应用在一些社交场景啊，比方汽车的中控屏里面啊，还有一些短视频啊。泛娱乐场景都可以用到一些。接下来我给大家展示一下。比方说，我做一个抱拳的动作，那虚拟形象就会完全做出一个抱拳的动作。我说一个双手举起来的动作，那虚拟形象也会跟我同步做出同样的动作。相当于这个虚拟形象就是我一个真人的完全的代表，只不过它是非真人出镜的形式。那这种场景呢，比方说有些人不愿意真人场景交流，或者他希望有各种更互动的玩法，那都是可以用到这样的产品去实现。互动性、体验性、趣味性更强，而且可以随时换我的发型、颜色、着装，把我的脸变大变小，鼻子啊、眼睛的颜色都可以改变。
谢谢谢谢。All the products here look so funny. Are you ready to explore more? Let's go check the online part.
Hi everyone, welcome to Apsara Horizon, a dialogue segment of Alibaba Group's Apsara conference that brings together Asia's cutting-edge technologies. We'll be in conversation with our esteemed guests to hear more about their stories, as well as perspectives on the challenges, opportunities, and the future of their field. If this is your first time tuning in, the Alibaba Group's Apsara Conference is the company's flagship tech conference. Apsara was first held in 2009 and has grown to receive both local and international attention. Now, while some of you are tuning in virtually, the conference is actually ongoing live this year in person in Hangzhou. There are more than 100 speeches and panels with China's key thought leaders, experts, and decision makers weighing in on all things tech. Many new innovations and solutions will be making their debut at the conference, so we're really excited to learn and hear from all of this year's attendees and guests. If you would like to learn more and check out the conference virtually, we have more links and details in the description box below. Now moving on to the main program for today, let's talk about living in a future interaction with the digital world. And we have our guests. We have Cheng Zhuo, the Marketing Director of FaceUnity.
大家好，我是向新科技的市场总监陈卓。然后我们向新科技其实成立于2016年的一家公司，那么到现在为止，其实已经创立了大概6年左右了。然后我们公司一直都在做的一件事情呢，就是创造更真实的数字世界。然后我们一直专注于图形学技术和人工智能技术的一些融合创新。然后我们呢做了一些智能虚拟人引擎，包括像超写实的3维数字化设备等等。然后我们也服务了很多行业，包括像智能手机、像互动娱乐，包括像社交短视频、像汽车、广电媒体等等领域。那么到目前为止呢，我们大概的产品已经在1000余家国内外的企业得到了使用，每天使用我们向新产品的人次大概达到了1.5个亿。
And we have Ender Jiang, the CEO of Hiverlab.
Hi everyone, my name is Ender from Hiverlab. Actually, I've been working in immersive tech domain for more than 6 years. Actually, I've been living in Singapore over the past 10 years. So in the beginning, I started as a video production creative director. And after a few years of journey, I realized that immersive technology, it's actually a new domain for us to redefine the future of human interactions. And actually dive into this domain, starting from doing very simple 360 productions and interactive experiences into nowadays we become one of the regional setup, managing a lot of immersive digital transformations for organizations. And we also produce platforms and tools for people to create their own experiences easily. And we are also moving a lot into cloud native infrastructures because we do see the rising of the overall industries. So actually will be a lot more cloud-related involvement for different organizations. I think for us, it's pretty exciting to be invited for today's journey to share what we have learned during the past years and look at what we can forecast for the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your introductions. Now, I think on the day-to-day, most people are engaged with the digital realm through their smartphone, social media, basically through there's a medium or a platform. And both guests, you guys work with technology that take that a step further with immersive digital environments and interactions with digital avatars. Could you share with us what additional value you think these deeper digital experiences can offer? And maybe you can share some examples of previous projects that have really highlighted that to you.
Thanks. I think for us, we do see the overall involvement of immersive technology over the past 6 years. It's been starting from 2015. There was a wave of immersive storytelling. I think back to time, there's a lot of Hollywood movies that are using 360 video immersive stories for people to have more attention and interest to actually really watch the full movie. But that was really a wave has passed already. And nowadays, there's a lot more interactive, accessible consumer experiences has been produced. And then people are starting to talk about the concept of like Metaverse, talk about the large scale of social experiences. I think for us, what we pay attention more is for B2B level of interactive experiences, because we believe that the transformation of enterprise in the sense of working and learning is also critical, also important. Because when we look at this whole digital movement, if you somehow make human a little bit irrelevant for the future of infrastructures, if you leave everything to machine, to algorithm, to AI to make decision. So of course, we see a lot more like autonomous factories, even the autonomous vehicles is coming out. People actually have a question whether they will be out of job in one day. For us, we don't think that's the right direction. We feel that we want to make sure there's always human involvement, because humans are very good in descriptive realities. We actually have a lot more like intelligence in sense of describing and making complicated decisions. That was a lot more comprehensive than machine, which usually make a priorities or standalone computing. So for us, we feel that if we are able to create experiences and also solutions for enterprise users to easily work, collaborate, and learn, and you can make them a lot more relevant, so we can help them to build the future of workforce. So for us, we have been creating solutions mainly in the direction of digital transformation for communication and for operation. For example, we've been working with a lot of warehouse and factories, logistics, supply chain players to actually transform the whole operation line into a digital immersive experiences. So the user are able to maneuver in the environment, to use AR, MR experiences to interact with machines, to understand the data, to actually have a lot more intelligence when they're working on site. While they used to rely a lot on SOPs, rely a lot on video calls, but they don't really have those instant tangible experiences. And all these technologies, they actually have to build based on infrastructure of spatial data. Because nowadays we are living in the world with a lot of data. The data now being produced to us as a video and image and streaming, but those data, generally speaking, is three-dimensional data. It doesn't really have the anchor of spatial. Yeah, so of course nowadays, if you look at the GPS information, Google APIs have been a lot more accessible, but indoor is also very limited because the mapping technology, tracking technology is still very expensive. For us, we actually focus a lot more on creating indoor-based spatial data-driven experiences for the user to easily manage facilities, to actually interact with the machines. Because we believe that the IoT will be one of the key driver to build spatial information, spatial intelligence for the future world. I think for us, this is one of the key domains we've been driving. And meanwhile, we're also making a very accessible platforms. One of the platforms called Classable. The Classable platform allows people to create their own virtual experiences easily from the web platform. And they can easily basically deploy this to webinars or like online virtual exhibitions and trade shows. Nowadays, there's a lot of event is moved to digital, like what we are doing today. So people actually look at something more than just Zoom meetings or webcam sharing. They want to do a lot more interaction with maybe presenters or like with 3D products. I think Crossbow has the vision to build all this capability to the end user level, so they can easily create own virtual showrooms and deploy it easily to the cloud. I think these are some considered successful case studies adoptions we have been seeing our users. I think Crossbow has already gathered almost 3,000 users, creators that creating content on this platform. They are from global level. And meanwhile, for the overall digital transformation for industries, we do see quite a number of MNCs. They are working with us for long-term contracts, which are able to help us to build very sustainable growth future for the future of workforce. I think this is some trends and effort we are taking in this industry. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. I think that's very interesting. I think especially from the industry point of view, right? It helps with more complex decision making and maybe even training of human workforce. Thanks, Cheng Zhuo. What about you?
在我看来，就是沉浸式一个数字体验，尤其是数字化生，现在还是能给我们的生活带来很多的改变的。其实，首先主要是像娱乐和社交这一块。那么，数字化生还有一种说法叫做虚拟形象，然后就是我们所说那个 avatar。avatar 这个词，其实很多人刚开始了解它的时候是若干年前有一本很红的电影叫《阿凡达》。那么从我们的理解来说，虚拟化身其实有几层的含义吧。第一层含义是，虚拟化身其实是每一个人在整一个数字世界的一个形象。那么我们认为是下一代人机交互的其中一个接口，是用户通往整一个虚拟世界的一个桥梁。那么我们简单的来说，用户和虚拟世界的连接可以粗略的分为3个阶段。第一个阶段是，首先虚拟形象的生成，就是每一个人在数字世界去生成一个属于自己的一个虚拟形象。第二个是虚拟形象的一个交互，然后第三个是产生虚拟的一些生产劳动，比如说虚拟社交也好，虚拟办公也好，虚拟教学也好等等。那么虚拟形象的生成是第一步。那么我们觉得新一代的人机交互未来会越来越像真实的人跟人之间的一些交互，它不像现在的移动互联网之间，我们还是存在说我们在移动互联网上的交互还不像我们人和人之间的交互那么的友好。那么第二层意思呢是， 虚拟形象其实是独一无二的。它其实我们最早的时候接触虚拟形象，通常是在游戏里面。那么我们进入一个游戏以后，游戏会预设几个形象给你，那么你会去挑选一个自己喜欢的形象。但是在这几年，就是已经开始有一些游戏开始允许用户自己开始，包括像捏脸啊，去做一些虚拟服装，去换装，去让你去形成一个完全属于你自己的一个虚拟形象。所以我们也可以看到，就是在这一块上，用户的诉求已经发生了很大的一些改变，包括单个用户他也可以拥有不同形象的不同属性的一个虚拟形象，然后用户对于虚拟形象有了更大的一个话语权，从原来一个 PGC 的一个状态已经转变到了一个 UGC 的状态。那么包括虚拟形象其实也不单单用在游戏的场景，在社交的场景其实也是一样的。那么像国外现在 FaceUnity 像国外的 Facebook 也在布局虚拟形象在多样化方向去做一些发展，就赋予用户一些创造的能力。那么像我们也会跟很多的社交平台来合作，然后帮他们提供虚拟形象的一些应用。那么除了这个以外，包括我们现在最熟悉的手机，AI 的能力基本上也成了现在主流的智能手机的一个标配。那么特别是原来苹果在推出 emoji 以后，国内的厂商包括像小米、华为、OPPO 其实也一样内置了很多虚拟形象生成的一些功能，那么用户可以用来去做一些社交或者短视频拍摄等等。那么像前段时间刚刚上线的小米11也是运用了像新的虚拟化身的一个功能。那么只要打开小米手机，你打开它的门拍的一个功能，你去拍一张照片，几秒钟之内就可以生成一个惟妙惟肖的一个自己的虚拟形象。
Yeah, okay, great. So, one of the recent global shifts, to the digital, I think that's brought about the hype of, the metaverse. And I think many are hoping to ride the wave and see this development. And they see this development of a digital realm as inevitable. Could you share with us, some of your thoughts on the metaverse and maybe how you see each of your company's role in this development?
在我看来，其实现在元宇宙还处在一个被定义的一个阶段，它应该就像一个巨大的一个魔盒吧，全球的科技公司包括一些其他的行业都在往里面装东西。那我认为元宇宙呢，一方面其实可以复制或者说叫映射我们现在就是现实的世界，然后另外一方面呢，也可以在现实的世界上去做一些叠加，去创造一个新的世界。那么大家可以通过就是创建一个虚拟形象，在元宇宙当中去学习啊，包括工作啊、社交啊、娱乐，甚至进行一些买卖和交易。那么元宇宙也会用各种就是新的方式和现实世界去做一些交互。那么像新科技也是一家专注于像 CG 和 AI 融合的一家公司。那么包括我们无论是我们自己自研的虚拟化身技术，还是智能虚拟人技术，那么我认为今后在元宇宙的这个构建当中都会不可或缺。那么从我们这几年服务的一些行业来看，沉浸式的一个数字转型在蛮多行业已经得到了一些应用。比如说像车载助手，现在车载助手已经被国内外的很多就是大的厂商看好，都在布局相应的能力，应该也是看到了就是智能助手这一块未来在自动驾驶这块的一些应用。那么除了这个以外，包括在智能设备这块，比如说这2年比较流行的智能音响，包括这1-2年新出来的健身魔镜等产品都内置了包括虚拟形象这种XR 的一些技术。那么也特别是在后疫情时代，我们其实在线下会出现很多无接触的一些智慧大屏去代替人工的一些工作，这个其实也得到了很多的一些应用。
Awesome. Ender, what about you?
All right. Okay. I think for the general term of metaverse, I think it was brought to our attention maybe probably 6 months ago. So we were aware that some of the companies starting to get very aggressive fundraising campaigns at the time, even including the Roblox companies. Then actually I realized accidentally what we are doing is also considered metaverse. That someone told me. I didn't really do much research, but after doing research, I realized it's true because the nature of metaverse, the definition of metaverse is combined with the word meta and verse. Meta means beyond, and verse means part of the universe. It's another creation of kind of words you are defining. So for us, if you look at metaverse, we want to understand that what level of meta we are creating. Because the word itself, it means the common sense of space and time in the matter as an event. And in this universe, if there's no human beings, we are still considered a universe. But what human beings bring to this universe is bring the intelligence, bring the uncertainties, bring the change. I think for us, if a universe doesn't have any intelligence, it doesn't mean it's worth staying. It doesn't mean it's really relevant to us. So for any kind of words, even including metaverse, having an intelligence environment, having interactions that built by organic structures, something go beyond the carbon level of intelligence. I think that's something where we are, something we can pursue. So I think for us, creating interaction with human beings in any type of interactive experiences, which go beyond just very traditional linear storytelling experiences, is actually the right trend. Like either FaceUnity, they are doing more like AI-related intelligence avatars, and also there are other experiences helping people to create maybe more like interactive games or experiences. And those concepts is definitely on the right track. For us, we feel that they are also value for the enterprise users who are able to gather more like automated data-driven spatial intelligence from the small metaverse they are dealing with. Even like a factory's warehouse, that's probably their metaverse because they have been dealing with that metaverse every day. 8 hours per day, 5 days a week. And the most of the time they spend to understand what is happening. For us, what we feel that if you can help them to see what is happening, and help them to even predict what is to happen, and you actually have helped them to work better. It's like less manpower, like people can focus more like a high end of intelligence works, then they can actually scale up the kind of business achievement. I think for us, every metaverse have an agenda, but every technology has their own agenda as well. And what technology wants, this is a book written by Cameron Kelly. They say what technology wants, technology just wants to evolve. If there's any force going to stop technology evolve, technology will do whatever they can to evolve, even including eliminating whatever force is stopping them. I think for us, metaverse is probably one of the significant movement that human can describe. It doesn't mean that it will be described by us forever. It will be described by itself when there's more like intelligence growing and driving. For us, what we can do is we need to make sure we are always relevant by being one of the growth force to help people creating content, to help people to actually creating more like a valuable data intelligence that can enhance how human beings interact with their works and with their lives. And that's the meaning for us to further pursue this. Yes, of course, it can be defined as metaverse, but maybe in the near future, it doesn't have to be defined by us already.
I think that's really interesting. You mentioned, that there can be many different scenarios and in a way, multiple metaverses depending on who is accessing that new arena. And I think taking note on that, right? I think there are a lot of many industry-related companies globally, of course, who are really starting to lean into this whole metaverse trend. And of course, I think this includes some of the most high-profile tech companies, of course, like Facebook, who really seems to be pinning the metaverse as the future and their next step. I would like to ask both of the guests, do you guys think that big tech will be leading the development of the metaverse? Or is this an opportunity, for some of the smaller startups or for more niche or individual technologies to really showcase themselves?
I think for us, we definitely pay attention to whatever the big players are working on. I think for companies like Facebook level, they are definitely looking at the infrastructure level of technology, including hardware, including maybe the whole ecosystem level of platforms of people to create content. I think that's their vision. Even like a company like a different like tech company, even including the Roblox level of platform, or even including like Minecraft from Microsoft. Microsoft also has their own ecosystem. They call it Mesh. It's like a spatial interactive experiences. And I think when they event the platform called Mesh, they isn't really mention anything about metaverse, but of course it can also be defined as a metaverse type of solution. I think for the relatively smaller ecosystem players, which I can say is Unity and Unreal, those are the company provide whole engine level of a solution to creators. They also have their own probably approach. They're providing tools or plugins or specific like a development kits for developer to easily create maybe a small scale of applications. Because as a platform players, you do prefer to provide application to your end user. But if you are already ecosystem players, if you're already infrastructure level players, You want to provide a platform to your end user. But for application players, you definitely want to create a end-to-end value, probably the ROI, or like it's more like a general value for consumer value as well. So those are application players approach. For us, I think if you can define a niche position, you try to go as high as you want. You try to go beyond the application. Of course, you have to go beyond the service and go into the application. Then you try to go into the platforms. Maybe once you are strong enough, you might be able to go into an ecosystem level. But this is not easy because there's quite a number of Metaverse platform companies that they actually start this journey back to 2017. There are companies like Outspace, which was eventually acquired by Microsoft. They actually trying to do this social interactive experiences, but they didn't really grow as good as Rec Room. Of course, there's also companies like Spatial. They're also facing the potential challenge with Mesh because they're doing something very similar. I think it's really a choice for any companies who want to enter mainstream market. I think for us, we usually will be more practical. We try to look at the enterprise-related technology and platforms because we know that in that niche, the platform players, they are probably not that aggressive yet. They want to create something more like for mainstream consumer level, which is also not something we would like to pursue. I think for us, if you can define industry value propositions, then we are also able to easily get more partners to push that movement because in every industry, there are a lot of value that you can further improve because the industry, it is generating the overall the positive economic values for everything. So I think for us, this is one thing we've been pushing. I think we also have very glad to have quite a lot of partners by pursuing the enterprise level of improvement, including Alibaba. They've been also been helping us a lot by deploying our solutions from the cloud service as well. I think that's really our angle. Yeah, so try to be niche, try to be mid, because in Southeast Asia, usually the company size is also not a mega size. The company in Southeast Asia, in Singapore, is a small country, so you only have a team of 30, 40 people. Then you consider quite established because the market in Asia is also considered limited compared with the country like China and the US. So I think you have to make a strategic choice about the size and direction you want to go.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting right there. Cheng Zhuo, do you have anything to add to that?
我觉得像疫情以后，因为很多人都开始在家里去办公嘛，在家里去学习，包括像娱乐这种，其实也是为了自己的就是健康和安全。所以呢，这个对我们整一个 XR 行业来说，其实也算是一个比较好的一个机会。那么，在疫情后，我们其实确实整一个业务受到了各行各业的一些关注，包括也有了更多的一些合作。我觉得有点像前几年的 IoT 一样，就是越来越多的企业就认可了 XR 是未来的一个趋势，所以也开始进行相应的一些布局吧。那么，比如说像现在的一些消费和娱乐市场，我们现在比较熟悉的像直播带货。那么原来的直播带货都是真人在带货，那么像现在越来越多的开始，大家已经开始启用像虚拟人来带货，其实去创造一个虚拟的一个 IP 等等。那么其他的，比如说像我们大家现在玩的比较好的一些陌生人的社交的平台，这个对他们来说就是更是一个刚需了。那么他们觉得说，除了真人以外，我们需要有更多的虚拟形象来加入，让整一个社交变得一个更好玩。然后同时呢，包括整个 XR 的这个技术提供的一些，比如说虚拟的一些道具，这种也能让用户去创作更好的、更高质量的一些内容。然后比如说像除这个之外，像金融、汽车、像教育等行业，也都开始就是用虚拟人去提供一些7×24小时的一些服务，来替代原有的就是真人那一部分。比如说像我们比较熟悉的浦发银行、招商银行等，都开始在这2年陆续推出了他们的虚拟员工。那么他们其实已经可以在比如说包括手机端，包括在线下大屏去提供原来需要真人去提供的一些，比如说像理财咨询啊，包括像一些业务办理啊，包括像一些风险评估等等一些金融的业务。所以我们认为现在整个 XR 行业应该是遇到了一个比较好的一个时机。就是这样。
Thank you for that. I think on the side, right, there are a lot of people who are also skeptical, about the degree of our daily interaction with the digital world, be it for work or for entertainment. And as with the pandemic, most of the world experienced a prolonged period of working from home, and of course increased digital interaction. Do you hear opinions on how people maybe need a break from the digital? What do you think about this, separation between physical and real life and the digital, and people's, I guess, concerns about having too much digital interaction? Do you think it applies to your solutions?
我认为大家其实未来在整一个数字世界当中去停留的时间会越来越长吧，我觉得。就是从整一个我们这个行业的一个技术的成熟度的曲线来说，我们觉得说，尤其是虚拟化身的技术，我们觉得在未来的5年内会进入一个稳步的一个爬坡期吧。然后，部分的场景可能会迎来一些需求式的一些爆发式的增长。那么我们觉得说，整一个虚拟化身可能会有3个阶段。那么第一个阶段应该是一个成长期。那么什么叫成长期呢？我认为是一个 B 端行业的一个探索和教育期。那么第2阶段应该是一个发展期，就是 B 端行业相对来说成熟了，那么逐步向 C 端去渗透的这样一个阶段。那么第3阶段才是成熟期，也就是 B 端和 C 端的应用都比较成熟，去形成整一个数字资产，包括经济体系。那我们认为现在还处在第1阶段，就是一个探索成长期。那么所有行业内的一些头部的玩家开始去探索一些更好的应用场景，去探索如何利用 XR 技术让自己的产品变得更智能也好，就是更有趣也好。那么我们认为早期的商业模式还是赋能 B 端，那么来完善整一个 B 端的行业解决方案。那么大部分的产品 B 端的产品其实也是直接触达 C 端的，就比如说像游戏当中的一些捏脸，包括像短视频直播当中的一些 AR 的视频特效啊、美颜工具啊等等。那么包括现在出现的一些虚拟偶像、车载助手等等，都是此类的一些产品。那么向心也是赋能了很多很多的行业来提供 XR 技术，来丰富各行各业的所谓的新的数字化的场景。
Right. And Ender, what about yourself?
I think there's definitely a lot of debate on physical and digital, the choice and balance. The debate starting from kids really, and of course there's a concern from adults. But to me, I believe that every option has pros and cons. For example, you look at the meeting. Now we are running a web meeting, because that's OCD. I don't really have to prepare anything. I don't have to take a ticket to fly to Hangzhou to attend this meeting face-to-face. Because if you do physical arrangement, of course you will also have a different type of interaction, but usually there will also be challenges. The challenge is that I'll tell you I'll be late 5 minutes. Everyone will be waiting for 5 minutes. You'll be wasting 5 minutes of your life for just waiting for this logistic, naturally, like the logistic limitations of physical meeting. But on the virtual meeting, just now, as you can see, I cannot hear you. Your voice is breaking. So these are the digital challenge. Each challenge, it is currently also have a way to improve. A better traffic system will allow you to reach people faster, easier. You can go with maybe the future traffic system. You can go autonomous vehicles. You can always work on the move. And meanwhile, you can also keep your communications online, offline seamlessly. Now we are not really in the fully seamless world yet. So the physical experience and digital experience is still separated. People are judging each of them in the totally different opinions and different backgrounds. But if you look at the kids, really, I think for kids, they don't really have much choice because they are really taught by us. My kids, now I have 2 kids. Another case is only 1 year old. So really, I keep them away from digital device because at that moment, if you don't really have much depth perceptions of your visual system, you might easily take the digital device as a real object. Then you might start to question what happened to your finger. There was a very famous video on YouTube. You see a kid that is trying to play with iPad. Then he realized that iPad screen can actually be swiped by using the finger. Then he used the same finger to try to swipe out the magazine, a physical magazine. Then the magazine doesn't change. Then he looked at his finger. He tried to bite his finger. Because kids will bite his finger to try to understand whether his finger is still working. Then he feels nothing's wrong. I can still bite my finger. I still feel the hurt, but my finger doesn't have the magic to actually turn the page on the magazine. And so those are actually the unique experiences when you are growing your knowledge in the digital world. I think for the next generations, there are definitely digital resident. We are considered like a digital immigrant. So we actually went through the 3D to 4G world. We actually start to deal with mobile phones, with the text and the music and the image and videos. Nowadays, people are very used to have a video streaming everywhere. But what's the next stage? Next stage, as mentioned, that it's definitely a lot more interactive, a lot more like auto-generative. So with our case, really differentiate what is real, what is virtual by then. For example, now there's a lot of online class, like enrichment class. People are learning like math, learning science, and there's a lot of class. This is AI class. AI class means your teacher will pre-record everything, then they will talk to kids. Then the kids will feel it's real, because my kids feel it's real, because she cannot differentiate. The teacher is always engaging with very universe, very general words. As if us, one of the key challenge in our industry is how do you make sure that your experiences, which deliver to the end user, is convincible enough based on their background, based on the knowledge. For the kids, maybe a pre-recorded video to them is real, is alive. Or maybe for the adults, for people who actually have a lot more desired interactions, it will always create convincible logics to fulfill, to fit their intelligence level. I think that's really what we are challenging. I think for B2B level, people, they have a very clear agenda. So they know the input, they know the output, they know the logic. So usually they are pretty okay as long as the demands being met. But for the consumer level, you might be fighting against a lot more options. From the video wise, you have very engaging AI as a host, but meanwhile you also have other people playing other tricks on TikTok. I think for now it's still considered early stage, but for me, usually when I look at the end experiences, we try to understand the background of the audience. I try to understand their expectations to make sure that whatever deliver, it do fulfill their background. It's not something we just come from our mind.
Understand. It's so it might soon become an issue of choice, and knowing how to differentiate the different context of the end user. Interesting. And I think just to move on from that, I know maybe you could share with us what are some challenges that you guys have faced or currently facing in the development of your company's technology, maybe with like customer adoption, market education, things like that.
Yeah, I think for now, maybe I'll start first. I think really the challenge for our industry is always adoption. No matter how hard, how cutting edge your technology is, people will never judge you by technology. People will always judge by what they can get from you. So if you look at the general track record of immersive tech companies, maybe even the fundraising record or like their own growth record in Asia region, it's very unlikely they can immediately become a unicorn company within a few years. But it's not like AI, it's not like a blockchain fully based company. I think usually people will take a lot more time to accept your technology. Even they'll take much longer time to decide to deploy your technology as a long-term solution. I think for us, there will be different type of tech terms people have been using year by year. Personally, they are using like immersive storytelling. After that will be more like interactive social experiences, and then it will be more like a metaverse. Maybe in the future there will be more like AI-driven interactive experiences, sandbox experiences. But all these experiences you can probably plug in immersive technology to create one business. But meanwhile, you're also being chased by the new waves who's coming to you to say, oh, I'm going to be the next disruptive force for your technology, and be ready to make sure that you are making the right change. If you keep making the change in time to actually you're able to maintain a well-sustainable model, but it also means that you'll be exhausted because you also have to ensure that you always create the latest trendy stories, because people still judge a lot by the experiences instead of just by your technology. So if your technology doesn't sound fancy, if your experience doesn't sound more like engaging, maybe people will still move on. So I think 3 years later, I believe that the main stream platforms, they will still be there, because those are the infrastructures or the foundations. The time people spend in immersive media is still a lot shorter than the general mainstream social media platforms. TikTok is people will spend 3 to 5 hours every day for the mainstream users. But for immersive media, like for example, VR and AR kind of experiences, usually it's very short. Unless like we talk about maybe a Pokemon kind of these kind of experiences, people will have an IP, they have a reason to be addicted to it. Besides that, it's not easy to create this addiction type experiences or experiences. But of course, it's also not a good term to use. But for us, if we realize that you have to make sure that people have a habit to actually use the technology, to use the solution regularly. I think that's probably one of the main challenges. It will take a while until maybe the device it become a lot more accessible, like maybe Apple their own AR device, if it's light enough, or maybe other VR device, it's like simple as a general specs. Maybe by then people will feel it is a lot more easier to accept technology. And of course, you also rely a lot on infrastructure. For example, you talk about AR. On the real world, the AR tracking, the spatial tracking, it is not really that completed. People still rely on like a Google API. Usually, those kind of tracking technology only give you 1 request per second. But when people play games, you play interactive experiences, you actually request probably 60 to 90 frames per second, which means you have to get 90 sort of package of data every second to ensure that you actually have a well-mapped experiences either in AR or VR. So at this moment, we are still living the world while the cloud infrastructure wasn't fully ready for immersive technology yet, because we are processing a lot of streaming data. Streaming data we call the rich media. Streaming data is much easier because you go through encoding, decoding, you have a few seconds delay, people don't care. But if you look at the game experiences, cloud gaming experiences, you look at the ultra low latency level of connections, which I see the current cloud platform still have a way to go to ensure that people can access anything from the cloud. I think once these steps really be settled, I think you really need effort from like cloud players like Alibaba to actually come up the whole infrastructure for all these immersive solution providers to be able to use cloud-based native solutions to help people to easily access and actually interact with the content from streaming platform, which I think that will be a good time for us to talk about the higher adoptions of this technology.
Awesome, great. Cheng Zhuo, what about you on the challenges that you guys face?
OK， 我认为就是我们面对的挑战应该会有2个方面。第一个方面其实是跟那个设备性能相关的一些限制和影响，然后这个方面其实主要是不同的一些硬件。那其实我们决定了现在整个数字内容它的一些细腻的程度啊，包括整个风格，包括驱动的一个自然度啊等等。那我们现在其实用的比较多的还是手机。那么其他的像头显也好，包括像 AR Glass 也好，其实目前至少在国内其实还没有被普及。那么第一代的头显和就是 AR 眼镜等产品，其实现在还没有办法支持特别高精度的一些内容。然后这个是其中一块，然后第二块呢，其实因为我刚刚已经提到了高精度的内容这一块嘛，其实向心最早的时候我们就知道，就是说其实在那个XR 的这个时代，用户对数字的内容的一个要求其实是跟看电影差不多，他希望所有的在电影在头号玩家当中能体验到的东西，在现实社会中他是可以体会到的。那个其实就要求所有做 XR 技术的人，你能提供的是更高精度的一个质量的一个内容。包括像元宇宙的一个特点一样，就是元宇宙的特点其实有几块，一个是永续性，一个是实时性，包括就是没有一些准入的一些限制，包括可连接性，然后还有一个叫可创造性。这些对于我们的一些就是技术公司来说，其实都提出了很多的挑战。这个其实就是如何在原来用 PGC 的质量，最后可以落点到 UGC 去，这个对我们来说才是最重要的。
Okay, I think that sounds like quite a few challenges to actually overcome and for people to really learn to interact with the technology and also meeting a lot of customers' expectations, right? Now to end off, could each of you share with us, what are some of the future trends that you are looking forward to, or what would be exciting for you to see? Maybe Cheng Zhuo, you could start first.
OK， 因为其实我刚才有提到嘛，就是我们这个行业其实也会面临一些挑战，但是我们觉得现在是一个比较好的趋势，是因为第一方面就是来自于我们就是各种硬件的迭代。那么包括像现在各大厂商都在布局像 AR 头显，像苹果啊，像谷歌啊等等，然后国内的各种公司，比如说像华为、OPPO、vivo 等等，所有的小米，所有的一些大的一些厂商都在布局跟 XR 相关的一些设备。 那么除了手机以外，包括像智能音响、智慧大屏，包括像车载助手等等，就是所有的硬件都在支撑我们整个 XR 行业往前去走。那么第二块呢，是来自于就是各行各业对于这个智能虚拟人的一个需求。就是各行各业都希望能够利用 XR 的技术，利用数字人去替代原本真人所承担的一些职能。那比如说像银行的一些客服，比如说像医疗的一些健康助手，比如说像一些在线的一些虚拟老师等等，他去讲一些标准的一些课件，那么都在一定程度上去助推了我们整个行业的发展。那么像我们其实是在做的是消费级的 XR。那么消费级的 XR 呢，一直都在往就是高质量的体验上去走。那么用户其实对于整一个更高质量、更精美的一个虚拟形象也有就是更高的一些要求。那么所以呢，象星其实未来会在这块上，包括更高质量的虚拟形象创建，包括用户的一些自定义、实时驱动和更好的交互性上去持续去加大研究。那么我们其实是一直想做 XR 技术的创新者。所以我们也希望就是能够去构建更真实的数字世界，然后帮助用户以数字身份在虚拟世界更好的工作啊、学习等等。就是这样。
好，Ender, what about you for yourself?
Yeah, so there are a few trends that we are observing as potential driver for immersive technology as a whole industry. Firstly, where the content come from. I think nowadays people are talking about the different type of content creation capabilities. We start from a simple photo or video taking. Nowadays, there are 360 camera being deployed in a very consumer level pricing. So actually, people are able to create 360 video or photos easily. But people are starting to understand the capabilities of creating 3D models by using LiDAR-based iPhone scanners, which you can create your own like a 3D scan of static object. Of course, you can also create your own avatar by technology like FaceUnity type of technologies. So people are able to create a lot more engaging 3D type of experiences. I think for us, what we would like to further pursue is we should look at creating content from static to dynamic. And where the dynamic come from? Because when you look at the replicating of the word, replicating of the whatever experiences, you can only copy once. That's the nature of the digital world. That you copy a file, you get to replication of file, but you're not copying the dynamic files. Same thing, you're copying yourself, but you're not copying the dynamic yourself. You're not copying the change of cells in your bodies. You're not copying the change of face and the voice and the intelligence of your bodies. So how fast these replications, these considered like reproduced productions in digital world can happen? It based on what kind of technology we are using in near future to provide a sensor level of technologies which are able to use maybe even AI. We use massive data to help us to generate a whole lifespan content. For example, for like facilities, you can call it digital twin because digital twin is nature of element and the dynamics combination. For like virtual avatar cities are digital human, meta humans. We actually talk about copying ourselves, but not only about our face, it's also about our voice, our intelligence, all those concepts. I think once you are able to replicate things to a certain decent level, you are able to create the experiences which make people feel more relevant. For example, if you look at today's like Alexa or Tianbao Jingling, those kind of products, you create a universal voice interaction with the audience. Of course, you can look at the other technology like those the TTS technologies. Then you can use the AI to train your voice to produce maybe the same kind of voice for the speaker to speak like you. So then this is only step one. There will be further steps. The speaker will even interact with you. They will have your knowledge. Knowledge will be knowledge base you can keep generating. What are the content creation tools that we are looking at? Actually, there's a lot of things around us, like the simple like your mobile phone. It's actively reading your data. If you do allow them to do that, even like simple like cameras, systems, all these things. Actually, all these input device, as long as you have a video, as long as you have a photo, as long as the microphone, then you can allow them to capture your data to help to reproduce yourself. So this kind of concept in the near future, I believe will be a main driver for every company's organization to create where customers level of the intelligence or interactive experiences for themselves. And so this is one of the key drivers. Of course, there's other drivers like infrastructure level. For now, we are looking at a lot of content being hosted and processed in the mobile phone as a mobile apps. or maybe the PC program. But there will be a trend like cloud gaming trends, which allow you to stream the whole gaming experiences from a GPU level VM from cloud platforms, which you're able to render all the frames. Then your end device only need to do a video processing of frames, which is also a very disruptive solution because nowadays you can look at all these console games. If you have to always install and to buy this, you're basically pay once and you're only able to play this and keep it as assets. But once you convert the whole business model, you can pay as you go. So you can just pay whatever you really spend. You pay for the time. Because actually, time is exactly the cost we are spending. It's not really about the assets itself. So if all the business can convert to the value in the sense of charging by time, then it requires whole infrastructure level update by putting things on cloud, which allows user to access it. And then eventually people will only pay for the traffic. And one of the very interesting concept for cloud computing is if there's a storage on the cloud, as long as nobody touched the storage, there's no value for the storage. Because there's no value for static storage data without anyone having any access. Only when the data be accessed, only when the data become a traffic, which means there's an intent, there's a demand, there's a drive for accessing the data to consume the data, then that data has a value. For us, we definitely foresee that there will be a lot more experiences if you further develop into a cloud native infrastructures. And this is one of the key moves because the cloud, hybrid cloud, and also like different type of cyber environment is also something that in overall Asia and Europe, even China, actually different government actually have a different type of approach to ensure that there's a national level cyber security and also there's a corporate level cyber security. So for us, actually for any company in this country, understand how hybrid cloud works, how can you able to create the experiences to be easily deployed in their environment? How do you containerize everything? All these solutions, it is essential for you to eventually deploy the solution for your end user. And so this is another key growth drivers. But once you know this, once you actually have your hands on mastering all this knowledge, I believe that your solution can be easily deployed. You can build your advantage as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much two aspects. One is AI-driven, content creation trends, and another one is cloud native movement for industry players. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. I think there's definitely a lot to talk about when we look at immersive experiences, interacting with digital avatars. I think there's a lot of new realm that hasn't yet been explored, and I think we all can look forward to that in future development. And I think with that, we've come to the end of today's dialogue. So thank you both for the insights and the thoughts. And I think it's been very, very in-depth and interesting. So we hope to also be able to host you guys in the in-person event in the future and, to do a proper introduction for everybody as well. And to our overseas audience, we also hope you guys will get the chance to join the Apsara conference in person in the future. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in and for our guests for their time. And we'll see everybody at the next dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing. Yeah, looking forward to the event.
Thank you.
Thank you.